We finally got him. Provan Wylie. We really had to rope this sucker in. I've been after him for an entire year, and we even had to travel to his house to shoot this episode. And I am so glad that I did. Provan's got a unique story, and his resilience, his determination, his morals, his ethics all come together on this one. And just talking to him, you can see how strong this man truly is. Provan's going to talk about his humble beginnings in Guelph all the way up to the president of Castle Building Centers. For you guys that don't know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, Castle Building Centers was one of the largest building supply companies in all of Canada. He's been vice president at Beaver Lumber, and he has over 50 years in the lumber and building supply industry. It's a great story, but it's not just about that. It's about life. It's about fatherhood. It's about family. And this is a 2-hour episode that you are not going to want to miss. And I truly hope that you take something away from this guy. Provan Wylie, here he is. I guess when we first start here, I mean, you and I have had tons of discussions, and I've always kind of enjoyed these like little touches of greatness, or whatever you call them, Provanisms. And you have, you know, and one of them specific was when at Laura's wedding, and you had said, you know, never talk poorly about each other about somebody else. Yeah. Because then that's all they hear. That you never really say, hey, they've done a great job, my wife made me dinner, and my wife did this and cleaned, and they always hear the negative stuff as opposed to the positive stuff.
Well, that's true. And at the same time, there's a corollary that went with that as far as the wedding is concerned, and that is you never go to bed angry.
Yeah.
And you never go to bed with even an issue that you didn't finish discussing that at supper time or that day. It's so important to have a free mind when you both go to bed and start tomorrow fresh with no issues.
And did you make that a habit in your marriage?
Did so. Yeah. All the time. We talked, that was the thing that I noticed with my friends, is that they didn't seem to communicate or talk to each other. And that's why supper time was always so important, is because that's what we did. And if there was something that was a non-issue as far as Laura was concerned, but it was an issue for us. And we made sure that, you know, it wasn't like we wrote it down to make it an agenda item, but it was always something we talked. And as a result, I can honestly say we never raised our voice to each other, and we never had an argument. 58 years.
Wow.
And that's a true story.
So, yeah. So tell me, let's bring it back, and I want you to tell me where it all started. So, where did you grow up? All right. You know, how was like I guess, like I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 87.
So you would have been growing up in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
Right.
They were my years.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, where you grew up, what it was like growing up, what your parents did for a living.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was born in the Guelph General Hospital, and we lived in Guelph, in an area of Guelph called Brooklyn, and not a lot of people know that name at all.
No.
And where the boathouse is in the Spade River, on the south side, west side, that's Brooklyn.
That's by the McRae house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that whole section, that whole park area. And that's where I learned to walk, was in that park.
Yeah.
And you talk about the McRae house. My dad was one of 5 children when they immigrated from Scotland. And his older sister, Elizabeth, was a lady ahead of her times. Bright, intelligent, historian. She was probably everything that women were never in those days. And she bought the McRae, what is now called the McRae house. Long story there. And she did the history on it. No woman would ever do something like that then. And she had it rebuilt, basically, and then was going to give it to the city of Guelph for historical reasons. They didn't want it.
Really?
Yes. And she did a lot of things like that. She was the first female alderwoman for the city of Guelph. That's how far ahead she was. And
what was her name?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
And she married an engineer. His name was Mowat. And he died prematurely. And if they'd been together, they would have made history because they were a real team.
Yeah.
My dad, on the other hand, wasn't quite as academic as she was, but he was a plumber and what do you call a tool and die maker. And during the war years, the government, don't know how that all worked, should have pursued it more. But anyway, they sent him down to St. Catharines. And Mom, and they were married, and I was like grade 1 or 2. I was born in 1938, and the war was on. And he worked for Thompson Products, and he did war work, and he lost 2 fingers there. And we lived in wartime housing.
So was he wasn't in the war?
No, because it was fingers.
Okay.
And also because he was working on specialized Spitfire parts, and they shipped them over to England. And that's why he went down there. And so anyway, I remember I was 3 years old, and knock came at the door because we had blackouts then. And we were close to Niagara Falls. And so the Germans, though we didn't know, they were already in the St. Lawrence with submarines. And they were concerned about explosions at Niagara Falls because they were supplying all the power to St. Catharines and the region for the war effort. So to take that out was a big deal. So this one night, there's two soldiers came to the door, and I was 3. And they weren't what you'd call polite, and they didn't need to be. And they were armed, and there's a light showing. We had to have the blinds down, but there's a light showing through the door frame and the window. And they stayed there until they refixed the window blind, and then they left.
You had to have them up?
No, the window blind. Oh, they had to have the blinds down.
Oh, okay.
So there's no light from the inside of the house.
Oh.
And so, in most places, all the light we had was candles, no electricity. Like
where was this?
St. Catharines.
At St. Catharines.
221 Grantham Avenue.
Wow.
And so Yeah, and when my mother passed, I was cleaning the basement, and I found a package of those Warriors, and we had coupons. So many coupons for milk, so many coupons for butter, bread, like basic essentials. You just couldn't have money and go and buy it. You had to have coupons and money to go to the store. And I was often thought about how we lived then, and can people today, would they have the intestinal fortitude and the discipline to obey the rules under wartime conditions? When in Canada, we don't know what a war is.
Yeah.
So it was. So I kept them, that package, for a few years, just as a memory. Then I destroyed them. But everything's so different now.
So you in Guelph, you were in Brooklyn. Then you went, during the war years, you went to St. Catharines.
Yes.
Wartime houses in St. Catharines.
Yes.
Now, tell me, is it true that those, so we've had rentals there before, and I remember someone telling me that they used to, in order for the water to look cleaner in the canal, they would paint the basin a light blue. And then the workers would use that paint and paint all the houses.
Never heard that.
No? Okay, because it was...
When you say paint the basin, where?
Well, like the sides of the canal, they would paint blue.
Well, I'll tell you this. We lived on Grantham Avenue. We used to ride our bikes to the canal. And that's where I learned to swim.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any painted walls.
Interesting.
And now that may have been a different timeline, but...
maybe the water was still clean back then.
Yeah, well, we'd be in... Canals were cement walls, but they had ladders.
I'm just going to shut the door. I can hear Laura.
They had indentations where they'd have a ladder built in flush. Mm-hmm. So if you fell in the canal, you could swim to the ladder and get out. Because if you didn't have the ladder, you weren't going to get out. And so one of the excitements that we had was when a freighter went down the canal, there'd be a big backwash, and we thought that was great fun, having the waves. But it all changed when the waves were too strong, and you had skin, and the waves pushed you against the cement walls. It wasn't funny then.
No.
And so my dad had signed me up for the YMCA then to learn how to swim, and I had to pretend I didn't know how to swim, but I already knew because I was already in the Welland Canal. Yeah.
So then how did you get... So from the Welland Canal, how long did you live there for, or in St. Catharines?
I guess I was in grade 5.
Yeah.
When we moved back to Guelph. The mom and dad were Guelphites.
Yeah.
They weren't, they were from the early 30s. No, that's not right. I was born in 38, and then it was right after that we moved to St. Catharines.
Okay.
And then we came back, and I guess I was grade 5, something like that.
So around 10 or so.
Pardon?
Around 10 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you came back to Brooklyn?
No, we came back to Guelph. Can't remember where exactly, but the job we came back to wasn't there. And so my mother, my grandmother on my mother's side, she was living alone in Eden Mills. And so mother's brothers and sisters thought it'd be a good idea, since we weren't established, to move in with her and kind of look after her, which is what we did. And then
You remember the address?
we didn't have streets then.
No?
No. Well, we had streets, but no names. It was right on the top of the hill. Forbes Cole lived right across the street, and Scott's lived next door. Turner's the next one over. And there was a fellow at a service station, a B&A service station down the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
And you come up that hill, we were on the right-hand side.
So the hill by the mill?
No, you're on the wrong side.
On the other side. So Wilson Street. So you were up Wilson Street.
At that time, I'd say
And the service street was right on, or the service station's right on the corner.
right in the corner.
They used to do ice cream there years ago.
Oh
too.
yeah. Normie
Yeah.
Norm Thompson. I can't remember for sure, but yeah, and Saunders Bakery from Rockwood, Herbie
Yeah.
was a good catcher ball player, and there was always competition between Eden Mills and Rockwood, and then Everton came in a little later on.
Yeah.
But Herbie was one great ball player. Yeah, and then used to go over to Rockwood to play in. They had a police band. Yeah, and we used to play in the band, Rockwood Police Band.
Wow.
But it got into a conflict because they started playing baseball in Acton, and so it was hardball then. And then we moved. Then Dad had he knew there was a painting contractor, Harry Forrester, and he had the first real paint store in Guelph, and he sold. Oh, and the name escapes me, but the name of the paint company. And he had a contract for all of the Odeon theaters all across Ontario. And Dad was his foreman for that. But they were old wartime buddies going back.
You know, I was reading somewhere that paint is one of those products that never goes down in value. It's always slowly creeped up, no matter what the economical situation
true
is.
Enough. Yeah. Well, in Rockwood, they had right in town was a big school there.
Yeah.
And I painted. I had my summer jobs were painting in that church, in that school. And
the old one, like
on the right hand
because
side.
that would be across the road from where my parents are now, right? On Guelph Street.
Yes, yeah. Well, not on the main street.
No, but you could access it from the main street.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's where Squire's Lodge is right now. They tore the school down, and the old bell is at the new school.
Right. Yeah. So that was my first real paint job, and really learned. Herbie. Oh gosh. He was the first spray painter I ever saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. He put up a trestles and had boards, and he'd have music radio on, and he'd be playing music and so more or less dancing on the boards. His name will come. He still owes me $20.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We find him.
He's dead.
What's the appreciation on that?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
So how long did you live in Eden Mills for?
Till I was in grade 7.
Oh, grade 7.
Yeah, and then we moved it to Guelph.
What was it like in Eden Mills there would it have been the 50s or the 60s at that point? I guess you would have been 12. Or,
I've been in the 50s.
you go fishing, did you?
All the time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But it would have been like now there's really nothing there, and I mean you would have
Then
been
there
even
was
more
nothing then.
you would have been more isolated, right? Like
Yeah. Oh, it was very. If it wasn't for baseball and fishing, I don't know what else. Well, I was fortunate on my mother's side. If you weren't related to the Andersons or the Wilsons, you weren't from Eden Mills.
yeah?
That's the Gilbertsons. Have you ever heard of that name?
No.
Well, there's 2 brothers married 2 sisters, and the 2 sisters were sisters to my mother. She was one of 11 or 12, and they're all farm people. And the 2 brothers had a sawmill right in Guelph, right in town, right beside the house. They had a lot of property,
Yeah.
and so they had a sawmill ran by belts on a tractor.
Yeah.
They had a Caterpillar and a great big John Deere, huge. And my Uncle Jim, it flipped over on the hill and he crushed it. And Uncle Bill, he ran the sawmill, and they also had a thrashing machine. And that thrashing machine was the only thrasher in the whole area. So they'd go around farm after farm after farm doing all thrashing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so kind of the way I started in the lumber business myself was on the sawmill, we had a cutoff saw like farmers would bring in logs, and then we have to square cut the bark. And then the bark slabs, would be different widths. And the cutoff saw at the end of the line was used to cut them in 16 inches. And then they used that for firewood for the winter, the slabs.
Yeah.
Not them, but whoever owned the trees. And I started, I did that every summer too, when we lived out there. Then I did the painting, because my dad knew this painter, and so I did between the sawmill and the painting. That's how I got through the summers in Eden Mills. So
What would you do in the winter?
nothing. Well, we played hockey on the dam, and a big deal was to come to Rockwood to visit my grandparents in Rockwood on Division Street.
Yeah.
I should have bought that house.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it was for sale at the time. But anyway.
Which one, on the corner?
No, down in on the right-hand side on the corner.
Okay. It's on the corner, like Division and...
Well, years later, they put a road through.
I think I sold that one.
Martin?
It's a little cottage, right?
Yeah, it's like a bunk. It was a duplex originally, but long.
Yeah.
But it had a good sized lot. Yeah, and so we the lady I was telling you about, she had a son Johnny. His name was Mowat. He was a real athlete, and he played baseball in the U.S. and hockey all over the place. And I used to come over on Sundays for dinner, and we go down to the dam in Rockwood and play shinny until supper time.
And he was a local guy, or?
Well, no, he was with my aunt Annie.
Yeah.
Or Aunt Elizabeth, but But when his dad died,
Oh, it was her husband, right?
her
Yeah.
husband died. Yeah. Then he kind of lived with my grandmother and my dad's brother. He didn't get married until years later.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but Johnny was a good guy. He ended up a regional commissioner. Ended up in Bradford, but before that, he was commissioner for Renfrew, but he was English.
Yeah.
And this is a little political, I guess.
And remember, we're not allowed to do that, Laura said.
I guess, yeah. But he was getting threats because from the French up there, they took a French job. Anyway, no, that was that. Anyway.
So I didn't realize you had so much roots in Rockwood and Eden Mills, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they were short year periods, but as far as me living there was a short period. But the connection was over years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then when you guys got back to Guelph,
Yeah.
So whereabouts did you live when you got back to Guelph?
Well, now, so that put me in high school, or no, grade 8 then. Mm-hmm. London Road, 36 London Road. and ironically, going back to my Aunt Elizabeth again, she was quite a realtor.
Yeah.
She bought real estate and sold, fixed, and so on.
Better than me?
Maybe.
Yeah. Give me a run
surprised, but she was quite a gal. Anyway, she owned that house, and she said, well, when you come back to Guelph, come on and rent it. Take my place. That's where we went. So
that's where you lived?
We lived on London Road, yeah.
Okay.
In her house.
So what school would you have gone to?
Central.
Central.
Grade 8, Central.
And then high school?
And then high school.
GC?
We still were at London Road.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it was about, I can't remember.
Central GCVI, or is that?
Yeah, GCV.
Yeah, okay.
We only had one high school then.
Oh, wow.
And then that's when I picked up baseball again in Guelph. We won the first inter-county championship.
Yeah? Hardball?
Hardball. And I had Johnny Mowat. I had he gave me a ball glove.
Yeah.
I never ever bought one. It was always his. And then I'm not sure particularly, but she was selling. She bought another house at 45 Caledonia up on the university.
Yeah.
And then sold the one on London Road. So we went there. I think that's the way it went. No, that's not correct. She was moving to Belleville.
Okay.
And then so she started getting rid of her Guelph interests, and she remarried.
Okay.
And so it was another family who had New York family connections.
Yeah.
And they owned the house on 45 Caledonia. And we rented that my dad died there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like at that point in time too, like the university, that was the furthest south of Guelph, right?
Oh, it was pretty close, yeah.
Like was Gordon a dirt road back then?
No, I don't believe so.
Edinburgh, maybe?
I don't quite remember that.
Yeah. So your dad, they never owned a house then in Guelph?
No. never owned a house.
Wow.
Now, don't know all the reasons why, but financially, we're not what you would call well off. Always had food on the table, never had debts, and we just had a simple life. And then unfortunately, well, then he had a great job for several years at the University of Guelph.
Doing what?
And he was head of maintenance in plumbing and refrigeration. And he dealt with a lot of asbestos and
Vermiculite?
that was common.
Yeah.
We even had that in one of the houses for insulation.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, oh yeah, that's what it was. Export A smoker.
Okay.
So the two things, asbestos and smoking. He died at 56.
Wow.
So when he died, I had just graduated from school.
High school?
Toronto, no, I was in Ryerson, Toronto. And I had a good starting in the wood business again in Hamilton.
Were you close with your dad?
Oh, very.
Like, was he a very like hands-on dad? Like,
Oh yeah.
throw the ball. And...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The best of the best.
Was he?
Oh. The best was nothing.
Yeah, the best with nothing. Yeah. Did you never asked him about that? Why he didn't have a house or just no?
Well, he never had.
Because real estate wasn't the same. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't increase as quickly as it did now, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when he died, he had a $10,000 life insurance policy from the University of Guelph.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, I remember my dad saying, "Don't let your friends pick you. You pick your friends. You know, don't let people pick you as a friend. You pick them."
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. And I did. And that way, you know, I was never in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the pool halls when there were a lot downtown. Didn't do that. I didn't play poker. I wasn't running around high school beer nights. I didn't do all that stuff. Not that I was a goody two-shoes, I wasn't. But that background, and my grandmother, when she was dying in Rockwood, I know it's kind of disjointed what I'm saying here,
Mm-hmm.
but she says, you know your name, Provan. And what she was implying was, that's her name. Her name was Janet Provan. And she said, your name is who you are. Be proud of your name.
Wow. I always, it's funny. I had that as one of my questions too, because I was wondering where the heck it came from, right? Because
Yeah.
it was always, and it was a good handle too, Pro, right? Pro
Yeah.
Wylie,
Yeah, well, it turned out that way. It was no plan.
Yeah.
But
So-
with baseball, it was big name. In business, it was something.
So then your mom as well, like, your mom, she outlasted your dad?
Pardon?
Your mom lasted longer than your father?
Oh, yes, 92.
92. So that $10,000 life
Well,
insurance
that-
went a long way.
Well, I'll tell you how long it went. The guy that owned the house in New York, funny you remember, but his name was Smalleycomb.
Okay.
It's not a normal name. And I said, Mom, I didn't know about this life insurance policy. We had nothing. I said, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So I moved. I was in Hamilton.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to come home. I was room and board down there. So I came back. And I said, well, got to find a place. And then Johnny Moe again came back into our life. And he says, did Pete sign up on that life insurance policy the university came out with? They just came out with it. And I said, I think so. He said, well, do you know anybody over there that can check it out? And I said, well, matter of fact, I do. Well, it comes back to this, pick your friends. I knew the son of Johnny Echoes was the head of something to do with today you call it the guys that run benefits and so on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I called, talked to his dad, and he checked it out, and Pete did. He did sign up for it, $10,000. And so we started looking for a house. But Mom couldn't qualify for a mortgage, but I did, even though I had no money. But I had a good company, a good position, a good future, and I got the mortgage. So we were able to furnish the house. Bought the house for $26,000, and if Dad hadn't had that policy, I'm not sure what the hell we would have done.
So he did buy a house, and he ended up buying a house after all.
That's right. And
so then how long did she live in that house for?
Mom died there.
So like you bought it for $26,000.
Yeah.
She died there.
Well, actually, we signed on it for the Elliott house because she couldn't look after herself.
So then when you sold that house, what was it worth?
$190.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that helped her through retirement.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, everything. So it was a real struggle, difficult.
So you were going to Ryerson,
Yeah.
right? For what program?
Business.
Business, and that was in Hamilton.
No, Toronto.
It was in Toronto. So did you graduate?
Oh yes.
And how is it 2 year, 4 year?
3.
3 year.
Yeah.
All right, and then from there, what were you doing in Hamilton?
I was with Beaver Lumber all through that time.
So tell me about that.
Well, with Beaver,
Beaver Lumber doesn't exist anymore, right?
that's correct.
How did you start with them?
I was working after school on Saturday at Little Brothers Paint Store on Wyndham Street. Rolly here was the manager there. So it was an extension of the early days working, painting the school in Rockwood. And so we moved back into Guelph. I was working after school when I was in grade 8 with Little Brothers. And then the principal of school, high school now, Pierre, his name was, I'm sorry, I can't remember. Anyway, he was a curler. and the manager of Beaver Lumber was a curler. And they said, if you got a, you don't have a name of a young fellow like to work in a lumber yard. He said, it's not an easy job. You get slivers and you got to unload and load trucks and so on.
Want me to get that for you? That back?
Yeah, just
Let me fix this too.
Yeah.
This thing. Hold on. There you go. Ready? There you go.
Yeah, oh, that's better. Thanks. And if you gotta give me a name, I'd like to meet him. Well, ironically, that summer, I had an interest in Army, went to Army camp, broke my ankle, back school in September, and the principal calls me down to his office. I said, well, what would he do that for? What have I done? And he told me about this job. Would you be interested?
The principal?
Yeah, the principal called me down to his office and said, would you, they told me about this job.
Yeah.
Working in a lumber yard from a paint store. Because I had the sawmill experience in Eden Mills with my two uncles. And I loved the smell of wood. And I thought, well, that'd be great. And so, and I'm on crutches now. So I hobbled down to Duke Street here in Guelph with my crutches. And I can see the guy's face. And we talked for about 2 minutes. And he said, you're hired. He said, anybody would come down on crutches for a job interview. He said, I'm going to hire you. So that was the beginning. And so I was all through high school. Then they said, what's it going to cost you to go to, I took business at Ryerson. So, long story, it'll be as short as I can. They said, they trained me in what is called now forensic accounting now.
Yeah.
I was good in accounting numbers. And we had theft in Timmins.
For Beaver Lumber.
For Beaver Lumber. And the managers at the time had to get approval to hire summer help from head office. And the guy from head office, Andy Gemmel, he was a left-handed CA. And right away he picked me to be trained to go to Timmins for that next summer to find out who was stealing and how it was being done. And ended up putting 7 guys in jail.
You did?
Yeah.
Did they know that you were up there for that reason?
No.
So you just worked...
The manager didn't even know.
So you worked in there at what capacity then?
Well, I was just a sales clerk.
Yeah.
And then...
Undercover.
I guess so now. And then on the weekends, I would load on... The trucks came in that area in the weekends because we couldn't afford to have the men off the main jobs through the week because everybody's working.
Okay.
The weekends were when you really did the slugging. And they taught me, so I had to go into the office at nighttime, 11 o'clock at night to 4. And the rest of the time I slept. And the only other person knew what I was doing was the chief of police in town. Because the word was they had a standard ticket, plane ticket, for me to get out.
How were they stealing?
Well, it was 7 guys, and inside and outside. They didn't even know for sure if it was the manager or not, because in those days we had margin analysis, and so if the gross normally on an annualized basis was say around 32, and then drops down to 26 or 24, you know you got theft.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'd go drinking beer with the guys at the Queen's Hotel, and they'd start talking. And I felt bad that I was a spy, like, but nevertheless, it turned out when they went to trial, most of them worked at Schumacher, in the mines up there. Yeah. And they built sheds, and they stole stuff all over the place, and then they was black market it by building sheds in their backyards, and then they would resell it to other guys.
Yeah.
That was one thing. The other one, they do false invoicing, and the truck driver would go out and meet a contractor on the side road and just offload stuff like that.
And then they would just change the numbers on the
Oh,
inventory.
yeah, everything was changed,
Was the manager involved?
and he wasn't.
He wasn't?
No,
No.
but he didn't know what the hell was going on, which was strange.
So you got 7 guys in jail. So for Beaver Lumber at this point, they were one of the biggest lumber yards in Canada, right?
Lumber changed. And in fact, there was few, if any, chains that operated the same way, even in the United States at the time. In North America, they were the leading edge as far as that kind of business. So then,
Like, what did that make you, like, did that give you a hell of a name within the company?
no, because they kept it quiet.
Oh,
Because I was used in other places
okay.
after that. But the senior people knew,
Yeah.
and word got around, and then the president of another plywood company had 5 warehouses in Ontario. Somehow talked to the president of Beaver and about me, and so he wanted me to come and work for him as his assistant.
The president?
Yeah, it was called Regent Plywoods then.
But it wasn't Beaver Lumber?
No, it wasn't Beaver.
So how many other guys, like, so you were in Timmins before, like, how many other operations did you try to?
Hamilton.
Yeah.
And then I went to head office.
Okay.
And then that's when I met Vic Malton. He was the president of Regent Plywoods.
Okay.
So that put me into the plywood specialty business.
But is that part of Beaver Lumber?
No,
So you got another job?
another company.
Okay.
And so I was his, I called myself, never had a title. I was just Lee Larkin owned Cashway Building Centers then. He had 79 stores, all in Ontario. And so got the reputation, bring that little fellow with you. You know, yeah. He said, he'll work out all the details. And that was my strength, numbers and details and memory.
So the plywood company.
So I went with Vic because he made all the big deals in Ontario in plywood. Like he had all the connections on the West Coast for plywood. Plywood's new building material. And so there's only about so much supply. And Milne Bodell controlled most of it at the time. And then Canadian Forest Products came along, which is another wonderful story. But anyway, Vic's company grew. It just grew and grew. We were big, too big. We grew too fast, and so Vic ran out of money, and he had 3 partners, And so we were, don't know if I should mention too many names, even though the years have gone by. But
Let her go.
he was asked to sell the manufacturing company that we owe money to, Canadian Forest Products, wanted to buy us out and wanted Vic to continue and everybody to run the business because it was so efficient, but we just didn't have enough cash. And the way Canadian banking was at the time, they weren't what you'd call very beneficial. So Vic asked me to come with him, and his two other partners, and they were both finance people.
Okay.
And
So they did end up doing this buyout, or you're going to the bank?
no, we tried the bank, but no go. So we're on the west. Now we're New Westminster, BC.
Yeah.
Head office. And so they're talking in the boardroom there, and they're Jewish, the guys.
Yeah.
This is what I really learned about Jewish business guys.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Shake hand, word of mouth, all that stuff. Wonderful. Anyway, these two were Germans, Austrians. Came over. They're almost the last business people in BC or in Austria to get out before Hitler really took over Austria. That's another great story. You won't have enough film for it. And
Let her go.
Anyway, they started made plywood for the mosquito bomber. Austrian Jews.
Yeah.
Not Canadian anything, Austrian Jews. And it wasn't for the mosquito bomber, we would have had huge trouble in Europe on our raids.
Yeah.
Did they get any credit for that?
No.
Nobody even knows about it. Anyway.
So what was that? Was that their like, because you would have used steel, right?
Before, no aluminum or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was all all the plywood skins were all plywood.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm off track. So we're out there to sell the company. And Vic invited me to come non-partner. And I don't remember the numbers especially, but they asked Vic what he wanted to sell the company for. We owed so many millions of dollars. And then on top of that, how much more, what profit do you want on top of what you owed? That was how it basically worked. And Vic gave him a number. And yeah. And by the way, that number was secret. I had agreed not to disclose it, and I never ever did. And that's the reason why I don't really remember for sure what it was.
Okay.
Anyway, so the two Austrians were related by marriage, and they were both engineers, very wealthy at the time. Not now, not then, but before Hitler. They developed synthetic rubber, which was interesting. Anyway, they said, well, one of his name was Poldy Bentley and John Prentice. They're the two names. They said, well, miss, and their accent. They said, well, thank you very much for your consideration of what you value your company. Would you mind excusing us? We would like to discuss it privately. So we left the boardroom. It wasn't maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes, I invite us back in. And get this, we appreciate your offer of your valuation, but we believe it to be far too low. Imagine.
Wow.
And they said, we think it's worth so much. And they accepted it.
So they gave you more money.
Yeah. And they had a lifelong privilege to continue working as long as they wanted to work.
So how did that work then? So where did you fall into this then? You came because you didn't have skin in the game, right?
Nothing.
So Vic,
I was just a gopher. I was just there. I honestly believe this. Vic had a daughter. That's it. And I always thought I was a son he didn't have.
Yeah.
And we did get along 13 years. And everywhere he went, I went. So I got to know all the major players in Canada.
And did you get paid well by Vic?
Yes, I was getting increment. Yes, each year I was on the payroll now.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of debt too. I had my mother set up. I had Ryerson, but with the help of Beaver Lumber. But he still, like when you say well paid, you think about what's well paid today versus then.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Sure.
And so, but I was, and I had company cars now, company expensive car. Like it was good.
Yeah.
Everything. It was for me, for my background, my whole life was totally different.
So then, so with the Austrian Jewish guys,
Yeah.
they bought Vic's company.
Yeah.
Vic continued to run the company.
Yeah.
They bankrolled him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I assume at some point it started to become ultra profitable.
Yes.
You in that company, were you vice president or?
No. The highest I went, I guess, like, it was kind of selfish in a way, I guess. He didn't want to let me go,
Yeah.
do anything else. Like, whenever I went to every major meeting, and I did, he said, Pro, he'll keep notes, and his strategy was wise in that regard, because whoever's the secretary holds the power.
Yeah.
Because how many people take time to read the notes afterwards? Very few. So if you sort of slide one line into another, and if you don't make any comment, that becomes law.
Yeah.
Whatever's the written, that's why that old term about how important the written word is because it is that important, because it is the law, because it has never been contested.
Yeah.
So it was a big lesson I learned there. But eventually kind of broke out of that because of we now had national implications. Because once they bought out Canadian Forest Products, bought out Regent Plywoods, then they bought out a similar kind of company in Quebec. They had 7 distribution centers. We took them out. Then we had Maury Black down in the Maritimes, and Newfoundland. They had 49 stores in Newfoundland alone at the time. So we took them out. So the first time we had a national company, not a provincial, national.
Yeah.
And that was big.
And Canadian Service Products is what it was?
All service, all Canadian.
Okay.
And then we started an export company called Seaboard. And we started selling our plywood, Canadian Forest Product plywood, into the eastern seaboard of the U.S. And then Then we got into lumber in a big way, fir lumber, and the Japanese wanted that. So Seaboard sold timber products to the Japanese, and it just grew and grew and grew, and
Like multi-million-dollar.
yeah, and then marriages took place, and the old idea about, if people would only stay focused on the business rather than let pillow talk interfere. And then slowly by slowly, then multinationals started to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one company starts joining another company. And that's when the breakup starts.
Yeah.
Rather than minding your own bloody business and stay focused on what you do. People can't stay focused. They got to keep on growing in areas they shouldn't be growing into. Like Wilson's, an example, started buying plywood companies,
Yeah.
a beer company. And now they're owned by Brick in Norway.
Yeah.
So wrong. Everything's wrong.
Yeah.
To grow exponentially, profitably, and sanely is you grow by staying at what you do and by being the best at what you do. And people want to do business with you because people want to do business with winners, not losers.
Yeah.
But that's what you're doing business today. How many companies are losers? All this tech stuff expanding all over the crazy place, but they forgot what brought them to the party in the first place. And that's the mistake. Now talk about the Chinese.
Yeah.
Now, how do they operate? They sure as hell don't operate the way we are now. I started out in retail Beaver Lumber. Then I went wholesale distribution with Canadian Forest products. And then there was a merger coming along with McMillan, Bodell, and Wellwood, major companies. And now you got another generation of people that think different. So I said, oh my God, they're making big mistakes here. And then going back in years, I met Lee Larkin. He and Vic were great buddies. And I got to know Lee because...
And who is Lee?
He owned Cashway Building Centers.
Okay.
And the family still held the business, but he was dying. And he had adopted children. Not that that's a bad thing, but they were druggies.
Yeah.
And too much, and the different family backgrounds, and they wouldn't go to school. They didn't want to work. So he said, I got no choice. I got to sell out. So they hired me to take over
At Cashway Building Centers.
at Cashway.
As what?
I was the vice president, general manager,
Okay.
and they brought in another lawyer from Montreal, a buddy of Lee's, to be the
So at that point, how old would you have been?
I got to be in my 50s, 60s.
In your 60s?
Yeah, 50s, 60s.
So then, but I mean, to be the vice president, I mean, that was a pretty big deal.
Well, it was because of the nature of things at the time. No, I was younger than that at Cashway. I was 56 when I retired from Cashway.
Okay, so.
And then at Cashway, there was a national building material chain had been growing. We had 300 Canadian stores.
How long did you work at Cashway for?
About 16 years.
60. So you would have been like 40.
No, when I left,
When you started,
yes.
you're 56 when you
yeah,
left.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were vice president for 16 years?
Yeah, yeah.
So what was that like?
Well, actually,
That like at that Provan, you would have been like, "Hey, we made it." Right? Like,
well, we did exactly right. In fact, the name Cashway was the leading chain in North America. I had private aircraft coming up from different chains in the U.S. to come down for 2-3 day visits to talk about what Cashway was doing and how we were doing this and how we were doing that.
holy.
And then Arthur Blank came along, who started Home Depot in Atlanta, and he invited me down, and the United States Gypsum had private aircraft.
Yeah.
You sent me down on a private aircraft to meet Arthur Blank, and I was telling him he wanted to know about our business, and he said, "My God," he said, "that's exactly where we were, and we were at the top of our game at the time, and it was a California chain that he ran, and he sold it out, and he went over to England, and Arthur saw there was a warehouse operation, like a Home Depot warehouse operation, but it wasn't in building materials. It was in plumbing and all kinds of stuff, but not lumber and building materials. And he got the idea that this is going to be a great idea for the lumber yards in U.S. And he brought the concept of Home Depot, which became Home Depot.
Because up until now, most of that was for contractors, right?
Yeah.
And then,
And see, at my time, I was at Cashway. We were mostly retail, but I broke off a division for strictly contractors, and that was so we had lower margins on that side versus the other side, but what he wanted to do was to have high volume,
lower prices.
and no contractors, but he really developed the concept of turnover. Turnover, you can sell at low prices as long as you got turnover, because the volume keeps repeating itself. Not a normal concept by any means.
Yeah.
But he perfected it. So anyway, I come back, and the president of Cashway Building Centers was retiring. So they had Coldwell Partners come along, going to select a new president.
Yeah.
And so the president at the time said, "Well, there's only one guy to take over," and he says, Wylie. And they said, "Well, we're going to be national." He said, "It doesn't matter." And he said, "Well, it does, because he's an Ontario guy, and we can't do a search and just have Ontario. We got to, politically, we've got to do it province-wide to get people to buy in on somebody from Ontario." Ontario is not very well liked in Canada, by the way. And anyway, the president at the time and the board agreed to the concept. And there were something like 200 or 300 applicants. And I wasn't interviewed until they got down to the last three.
Yeah.
And I was selected then.
For president.
Yeah.
And how long were you president for?
15 years.
Oh, 15 years.
Yeah. So that brought me I'm into my 60s, 70s.
So you were, 56 was the vice president, but it's all for Cashway?
Let me think. Cashway had nothing to do with Castle Building Centers.
Okay, so you were at Cashway, and then Castle Building Centers was already, excuse me, was already a thing. It wasn't a.
Oh yeah, it wasn't new.
Okay, and then so you went from Cashway to president at Castle Building Centers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all in all, if my math's right, I've been in the lumber business 56 years.
So, what? So like I mean, like what? Like when you were president, like what's the first thing you did when you were president? The first thing you bought?
I never bought I never believed in buying companies.
No.
No. That's a PR game for growth. I only believed in internal growth.
Yeah. I mean, you personally.
Oh, how do you mean?
Like when you get your president, what did you do to reward yourself?
Nothing.
No.
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 Well, the only I guess.
No Corvette. No. No.
Nothing like that.
No.
Absolutely nothing. In fact, I had all I ever did was personally was ensure that I had a pension primarily and benefits long term, and when I'm going back to Cashway days, one of the Lee Larkin. Do you know who Lee Larkin was?
No.
He was a finance minister, Liberal government,
Okay.
and he had this private company called Cashway Building Centers. Well, actually, it was called CCM, Canadian Corporate Management, and he had 30 businesses that he owned. 30 is politician. Mm-hmm. He would like to spend everybody else's money, but not his own.
Yeah.
And I was working closely because I had to work with him as president at the time. You had to accept a lot of things. You know, you're told from, like if you're president, you have to report to a board of directors.
Yeah.
And the only time you're in control of a business really is when you bloody well own it.
Yeah.
If you don't own it, you're just a high-level employee, and there's a lot of stuff that I saw that not having parents that were in business before, everything you learned was new. Like you had to see and watch and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you don't learn it at school. You know, that kind of stuff is not taught anywhere.
What do you think your dad would have thought? Like if he was still alive?
He would have been astounded. Totally astounded.
Right.
Yeah. No, and I was astounded. Also, all I knew growing up was that I wanted something to do with the wood business.
Yeah.
That's all I knew.
But there was no big ambitions to...
No, I didn't have the background for that. I just didn't. You know, and I don't know why. Like Laura's now, she had the benefit of another lifetime exploration. Like she saw another world that I never did see.
Yeah.
At her age, she saw, power. She saw growth. She saw high standard of living, and she saw important people. I took her to all these cities, introduced her to people that I never had a chance.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge advantage for early exposure to children. If they don't get it, how is it accident? What kind of accident happens that allows them to grow into something larger? You've got to have some kind of life experience that is presented to you early, so that, because you can't do things right away. Things take time. Planning, organization, execution, all those things take years.
Yeah.
They don't take 2 or 3 hours. And she's had that exposure, which I never had. She would go down the airplane, and she'd be networking all the way down.
Yeah.
You know, at 15, 16 years old. Presidents of companies.
Yeah.
And she knew them. And they still ask me. I hear from them all the time. Those that are still alive, that is. How's Laura doing?
Yeah.
No question.
So you came back to Guelph. You did high school. You went to Ryerson. You lived in Hamilton. Now you're here.
Burlington.
So then, where did you live? And then, let's talk about you and Linda as well. And how did that all come to be?
Well, the first part was I'm a homer. I am. I'm a Guelphite.
Yeah.
This is my home. And I traveled everywhere, like Canada wide. And so I went to school in Toronto. I worked in head offices in Toronto, but I never wanted to live there.
Yeah.
So we stayed in Burlington for 20 odd years.
Were you married?
Oh yes.
So so tell me. So then go back. So when did you get married? When did you meet Linda, and how did you meet her?
Oh.
Is she from Guelph?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Is she older, younger?
She's the middle child. She had an older brother, and then Fred, and then Gail.
And what part of town did she grow up in?
Del High Street.
On Del, by the hospital.
Yeah. Okay. So her mother was a graduate nurse from Guelph General. Linda's a graduate nurse, Guelph General. Her sister, Gail, graduate nurse, Guelph General. So, anyway, I somehow, not somehow, Linda's mother and dad were friends with my mother and dad during the early years.
Are you older than Linda?
Yes.
How many years?
Let me think now. She's 83, 4 years.
4 years, okay.
And so we never met. And I never met Gail, the daughter, younger. But I knew Fred somehow. But I knew her mother and dad because they'd come to our house. And I'd be just Saturday night, I'd be getting ready, I'm going out. And they came on and I'd say hello and I'm gone.
Yeah.
So the years went by, and Linda's dad was 30-odd years with London Life Insurance. So I bought my first insurance policy from Archie Seeger.
Yeah.
And so we had all those years. And then years went by, and a common family grouping that Linda's mom and dad and my parents hung around with during the Depression years when we came back to Guelph. She is getting married. The daughter is getting married. Her name was, he had the first supermarket at Guelph, Bud Scott, on Del High Street. And my dad died, so I was taking Mom to the shower. And I met, and Linda was on her way to to the shower, but Mom didn't drive. So I drove her, and Linda was there. And she was in between. She was going to be director of nursing in the new general hospital in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And so Mom said, my mother, she said, why don't you take Linda out? She has no friends in Guelph. They've all, either those that are still here from graduate school, either married or they've moved out. And I thought, she was very attractive, and I was quite taken by it all. But we're friends, like it's family. And I wasn't quite thinking that was a good idea. But then the position got postponed to the summer.
Yours?
No, the
Or hers?
position in Ottawa.
Yeah.
So she liked baseball. So why don't you go for a baseball game? So we did that. And
Like the Jays or?
So then we started dating for 2 years. Got married on year 3.
Yeah. So then who were you working for at the time?
Canadian Forest Products.
Canadian Forest Products. Yeah. So you got married. You moved to Burlington?
And we moved to Hamilton first.
Okay.
On the mountain.
And she was practicing?
She was working at the general hospital.
Yeah.
And then from there, she moved on to to be head nurse at the jail.
Because when I first met Laura,
Yeah.
she had my Dawe, the name, and then she's like, "Are you related to Jackie Dawe, which is my dad's sister?"
Oh.
And they went to I think they either worked together or they went to school together.
Oh.
Yeah, small world, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So then she worked at the jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was working on Parkdale Street in Hamilton for Region Plywood's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then for you and Linda, I mean, you date 2 years and you get married. I mean, that's short. That's a short period of time in today's standards. Mm. But what do you think it was? What was it about her?
Well, first of all, marriage was never a must-do or must-have situation. I was busy doing all those things, and marriage was never something that I had to do. But I was quite attracted to her.
Yeah.
And she had good value systems. She was just a nice person. And I thought to myself, I'll never find another person anywhere near that marries up to what she is. And I said, it's now or never kind of thing. And so we'd get married, and I never looked back.
Did your mom like her?
Yes. Well, not initially. Well, that's a hard question because my mother depended on me so much after Dad died.
Yeah.
That it didn't matter if it was Gail or Linda or anybody. Yeah. It would have been in the way as far as she was concerned.
Yeah.
Now we never talked about it.
Yeah.
But I believe it. But as the years went by,
you were the only son too, right?
I had a brother.
You had a brother, okay.
But he was 15 years younger.
Okay.
But I knew that the two of them, like Linda always sensed there was an issue with my mother.
Yeah.
But it was only because of the situation. I looked after her, cared for her. If it wasn't for me, I don't know what she would have done.
Yeah.
Just because of the lifestyle. And And
Was your brother around to help out, or
no, well,
is he still alive?
No, he's deceased.
He is.
And he died in Nicaragua. And
Really?
he's fluent in Spanish. And in many ways, I think he was a missionary with Daniel Ortega.
Yeah.
He was great friends with him.
Okay.
And when he looked at you, he had his steel blue eyes. He scared the hell out of you.
Your brother?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah, no, he was no mess. Don't mess. He was a short guy, but very strong. Very strong.
And he was where? What did he do?
As I said, he was very bright, articulate. Teachers that I knew in Guelph said that they were all basically afraid of him, just because of his, not that he hit anybody,
Yeah.
just his character. He was very dominant, and he was in Mesoamerica most of his life.
Doing what?
Mercenary.
Oh, mercenary.
Well, that's what I think.
I thought you said missionary.
Oh God, no, oh, anything but.
So he was in the military at some point in time, and then
Yeah, not Canadian.
no.
He was in a drug jail for a few years, and it was the American DEA got him out, not the Canadian government.
Did you have a relationship with him, or not much, because he was 15 years younger?
Yeah, no.
What about your mom?
Well, for 25 years, we thought he was dead. Could never heard from him.
What's his name?
Paul.
Paul Wylie.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
No, I know he was different.
Yeah.
And this is another off the wall story. He came home just before Mom died, and one of those cardboard boxes again downstairs was full of banknotes, statements.
Yeah.
400,000 here, 600,000 over there. Every bank in Guelph.
They were all his.
Yeah. And then they're all zeroed out. And
When your mom died? Or all zeroed out, like you went through them after type thing?
well, I didn't even know they were there. And until when I sold the house after Mom died, I'm cleaning up. I find this cardboard box. And some of the money, there was a money trail to Germany for a while, but I couldn't follow it.
Wow.
You know,
That would have been interesting for you.
oh, yeah. Well, maybe, in many ways, I said, it's best not to know.
But you never talked to him at all about any of it? You just kind of pieced it all together?
It's a long time. I wanted to know what the hell was going on, but then again, I didn't, because I'm a law and order guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any mishaps about that. And I get phone calls from Metropolitan Police Department that deal with, what's that international police organization?
Like Interpol? Or?
Interpol, yeah. You know, if Paul Wylie or any relation, stuff like that. And at that time I said, well, I don't know who, you obviously have some idea who I am. I don't know who I'm talking to for sure.
Yeah.
So I said, to get to the cut to the chase, I said, I can't say anything because I don't know anything. And I didn't.
Yeah.
Other than, I think he came home maybe twice.
Where would he get the training from? Like, what would he...
U.S.
So he'd go down to the U.S., maybe join the military and had training, and then was...
And spent
CIA or
Always involved there, yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure of that. And he was certainly involved with whatever country in Mesoamerica too.
Such an interesting, like coming from Guelph, right? Like you
yeah.
wouldn't have thought. How would you even get wrapped up?
Yeah. Well, he was heavily involved in farming on a huge scale. Farming, huge. Thousands of acres of land for. Now it's all. You see all the stores all around everywhere now.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he was involved with too. With what do you call that stuff?
Oh, like yeah, marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cannabis.
And apparently that's what they put him in jail for.
Oh, okay.
But he had all the approvals, apparently, for farming, or else he wouldn't have done it. Like, why would you? It was all open.
Yeah.
All these tractors and all these people he employed, and all this land.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. He wasn't hiding anything.
Yeah.
It was all open. But then something happened that he got charged.
Wow.
And then that's why I'm told, that's how he got into jail. And then, but it was the DEA that got him out. Yeah.
So let's jump back. So for Linda then, you guys get married, you're in Hamilton. Tell me, like, did you start your family right away? What happened?
Oh no. Then they couldn't conceive.
Okay.
That's when we found out. And that's when we adopted. It was like 13, 14 years later, we adopted Leslie.
So you were trying for 13 or 14 years, and then you adoption.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had in Burlington.
Yeah.
We had the miracle child called Laura.
Yeah.
And thank God for that. I mean, thank God. And so this Martin Bosch guy dies, or not dies, but retires. And I said, Linda, we're going home. And that's when.
So you had you adopted
Laura was born.
She was born.
Yeah.
So you had the two from the adopted, and then Laura was born, and then you moved
home.
Home,
not to a house. We moved home.
Yeah. To Crestwood?
To Crestwood.
Wow. So how long were you there for?
20 odd years, 24.
Wow. It's a nice spot, eh?
Oh, it's beautiful.
So with Linda, she had her career.
Nursing.
Yeah, and so she was in Hamilton, and then she moved to Guelph General?
No, say that again?
Linda's career. Tell me a little bit about that then.
Well, she graduated as an RN Guelph General.
Yeah.
Then she takes a position in Edmonton, and she goes to the Edmonton University Hospital, and because her brother was out there, and I don't remember how many years she stayed there, but it wasn't long. Then she came back home and went to Western, and then at that point, she gets this offer to go to Ottawa to be the head nurse, or the head general, whatever they call it, the head woman anyway. And that's when I met her.
Wow.
And then, but then I worked in Hamilton then, and she was then she got a position at the Henderson General while I was working in Hamilton. And then from there, she got another offer. 'Cause somebody died at the jail, so they never had any nursing facilities at all. And so she went there, and then she was at the cancer. She was one of the first real leaders in the cancer clinic at the Henderson General at the time.
Were you worried about her at the jail?
No, as a matter of fact, it wasn't. No, I wasn't, because she wasn't worried. So, we talked every night when I got home reasonably, because they had it organized in a sweet way. The bad actors were way over there, and then they had the warrior guys,
Yeah.
which she felt sorry for, because they came back home, and now it's PTSD.
Yeah.
They didn't know that then. These are good guys, but their lives were screwed up. Their wives left them. They had no jobs, no careers.
Yeah.
They were just left. We just left them to fend for themselves.
Yeah.
Great country.
Yeah.
We did a lousy job there. And so I kind of fell in the same mode of feeling sorry for these guys. So she got to know them by first names and everything.
Yeah.
At Christmas time, winter time, they'd be downtown at night. They get a brick and they throw it through the Eaton's window and wait for the police
Yeah.
to come and get them. And they go down to the station. And hi Jack, hi Jill, was coming home.
Yeah.
And some guys liked to work in the bake shop. Other guys did the laundry. They had their jobs.
Yeah.
They had a place.
So tell me then, tell me about, you tried having kids for 16 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden Linda's pregnant with
Yeah, big
Laura.
surprise.
Like, how does that even, how old was she?
Oh dear.
Like 40?
Oh yeah, 42 I think.
So then
42.
you would have been 46.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was late.
Yeah, you're getting along in the tooth for that.
Oh yes.
So
But it
then,
was no trouble, it seemed. She quit working
yeah,
and fell right into it. And no, it was okay. It was better than okay. It was a miracle.
yeah. And timing too, right? Because then
Unbelievable.
and how was she as a mother?
Perfect.
Who do you think, who do you think that was, she takes more after Linda, yourself? You think, church, were you guys into the church growing up, or?
No, I don't think church had much to do with it.
Did you go to church often?
Sunday school all the time, yeah.
So you guys would go, if you were home, you'd go to church every Sunday?
I'd say yes.
What church?
Port Nelson United.
United, okay.
Yeah, and that was in Burlington. Most of our, and we even sent the two kids to a private church school to reinforce
Yeah,
that kind of conviction
yeah,
to a better life.
yeah.
And John would steal rubbers and pencils and all. It was just not there.
Yeah. But then so with that, with Laura, she would go to Sunday school, you guys would go to church. Mm-hmm. And that was in Guelph then?
Burlington and Guelph.
You'd go all the way down to Burlington?
No.
Oh, Burlington
when
and
we
Guelph.
lived in Burlington.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what church in Guelph?
Knox.
No, and that's
Knox
Presbyterian. Okay.
Yeah.
I find that too with that, that does help, with the kids and stuff, and that does help instill values as well. Even though nowadays everybody's kind of pulling away from it, right?
Yeah, I know.
But so would you say, for Laura, she takes more after you or Linda? Laura?
Well, that's a hard question. Well, definitely both of us for sure. But she's heavy after me on organization, discipline.
Yeah.
Like I've always drilled in her, when you got a situation, understand it, understand everything, get all the details, formulate a plan, review the plan, and then have perfect execution.
Yeah.
If you don't, you can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't execute properly, it's no good.
Yeah.
And Linda she was well organized, but I don't know if it's lack of confidence in execution. Never ever did figure that one out.
Yeah.
But she never wanted to be a leader.
Yeah.
Or in charge. Like all the years she loved curling, but I couldn't get her to become a skip.
Yeah.
But she knew everything, but she didn't want to lead.
Yeah.
By example. Whereas I'm the other way around.
Yeah.
I want to get things done, and I want to get them done right.
Yeah.
The first time. And you keep at it until it is.
Would you say too, like, I mean, I always, like, the older I get to, I find the decision making, I mean, it's a real trait, right? Because some people can do it and some people can't, right? They waver on that. And like, even if I find sometimes, even if I'm not sure, you have to make a decision. So whatever decision you go, you just got to go full force on that.
Yeah.
You know? Did you ever feel that way, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know. To me, that sounds too quick.
Yeah.
But once you've done your planning, then you just decide on the method of execution. You follow through with it, with one exception. The one thing about execution, and if you follow through with the plan, you're going to know one thing fairly quickly, whether it's the right plan.
Mm-hmm.
And not to be afraid to accept the fact that you're wrong, even though you did all the work. But see, once you start your execution, it confirms the plan.
Yeah.
It does. It confirms you're right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
And never be afraid to change in midstream based on new information.
Yeah.
That maybe you didn't find in the first place, or it's just so new that it wasn't even available. Because things do happen that way.
Yeah.
But not very frequently. Not very frequently at all.
Yeah.
But when you do find you made the wrong move, a lot of guys won't accept it.
Yeah, maybe ego.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. They won't accept they're wrong. And whereas with me, I looked at it another way. I said, that's part of my learning experience, no matter how old I am.
Yeah, yeah.
I've learned something today. And and no excuses for being, the fact that no problem being wrong, as long as you know the reasons why, and you're a quick adopter.
Yeah. We always look at that in terms of, like, I call it like a living plan, where you can change as you go, right? Yeah. So I've got, as we close, I mean, to me, this conversation's been awesome. It's really fun, yeah. Like, I mean, there's a lot packed in here.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions. So, for anybody out there, we need some advice. So, as a businessman, as a father, and life in general. So, one, I was wondering if you could give everybody some advice on a marriage. And then the next thing is if you can give everybody's advice on a parent. And then if you had any closing statements on life in general. So first, advice as a spouse, as a husband, as a marriage.
To be honest, pure and simple.
Yeah.
Because if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody. Mm-hmm. Nobody. Linda and I had no secrets. What? This is so hard.
Yeah. So
when she died in this bed, there wasn't one thing I could think of that I should say to her that I hadn't said before. Nothing.
That's nice. So, in terms of being a parent, give us some advice on that. What's one piece of advice that you could give us about being a parent?
Well,
especially now with all the shit we have to do and all the stuff that's going on in the world.
Yeah. Well, I've got two mixed parent roles here, and they're different. And one of them I admire and respect, and the other one I don't. And when it comes to respect and integrity, it works both ways. And the disappointment is when you're giving all the time, and in your mind's eye, you get nothing back. Or if anything, very little. And so I have a big disappointment, and it's hurtful. Because it was one thing I couldn't change, one thing I couldn't fix. Mm-hmm. And I've run out of time.
On the other side of that too, though, like, would you say you'd think, I mean, I always find as a parent we're always having to struggle between, spending time with work and spending time with the kids, and like I always say too, like, one of the toughest jobs that I have, and I'm just, my eldest is 8, is being a parent. But one of the most rewarding jobs I've had is being a parent.
Yeah. Well, the two of them are blend to start off with. And I always made my choices about when being away on a very simple basis. The reason why I'm away, first of all, has to be meaningful to me and my profession, or what I'm doing. Has to be meaningful. Not just, I'm going to I got to meet Harry down at Tim Hortons at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and in Moncton.
Yeah.
Is that meaningful?
No.
No. But a lot of people do it. So I have that meaningful thing in my mind. but I was never afraid to go because I made the call, but this is a necessary meeting. And it's necessary on two fronts. One is the business front and to be able to maintain the family. If I'm successful in business, it goes a long way to make me successful in the family. Because if I'm a failure in business, I'm going to be a failure in the family because I won't have the resources, won't have the opportunity, the missed opportunities. Because I was what I was, and the places I went and the people I knew, I was able to share that with both Linda and Laura.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just me that was benefiting; it was the two.
And they worked in conjunction with one another.
Yeah, they're part of it. They were part of my success story. I did not separate them. I didn't make them apart. There wasn't one company in Canada, there wasn't one president of those companies who didn't know Linda and Laura's name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then I guess on that note, the last one is, just for anybody out there for business purposes, you've had this, this career, which, like, it's funny, I never really even knew, I knew you executive, I had no clue to the extent, okay? And, when I first met Laura, you were still working, driving a Cadillac. I thought you were a mob boss. I didn't think you were a CEO for Castle Building Centers. And I guess just for some of us young guys out there, what's some advice in business that you could give us, that you've kind of learned along the way?
Well, couple, it's intertwined, really. Number one, I always believe, and you got to believe in who you are first of all. Who are you? And live that part. And I was always, once I got into the senior roles, I dressed the part.
Yeah.
I was somebody, not a truck driver. Looked like a truck driver who was supposed to be somebody that drove a Cadillac. See, a lot of people have this misconstrued idea about dressing nice. Like today, they want to look as if it's Saturday afternoon when they got an important meeting at 3 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. They forgot the role that they represent. You got to look successful to be successful.
Yeah.
A lot of people can get away with it. You're one of them. You can, because you're smart.
Yeah.
But not everybody's smart. And when you don't look the part all the time and act the part all the time as a CEO, then you say to yourself, what's carrying me? Why am I successful now? And you get different answers. And one of the answers is your reputation. You have the reputation of being the best realtor in Wellington County. Now, if somehow that reputation didn't follow you, would you be as successful as you are? And the answer is no, you wouldn't. And that's why you got 20,000 too many real estate agents running around trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
Is that right? And I say no, because that's not who you are. For some reason, since IBM, where they were on a downhill slide, at one time, you had to be 6'4". You could only wear navy blue suits, certain stripe, and certain Ivy League schools and all this stuff. And then another guy comes in, president, and he said, that doesn't mean damn. So it's Saturday afternoon, jeans, all this stuff. And what happened to IBM? They went down lower. And they've been struggling ever since. Mm-hmm. They lost their identity.
Yeah.
They lost who they were. They weren't seen any longer as the professional, consummate, successful, want to do business company.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. Like, why is it that you got to look like a slub to be successful?
Yeah. And you're right. It has changed right now. There is a dynamic. People,
Yeah.
you know, you're wearing running shoes and.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's, to me, it's totally off the wall.
So
So ask yourself this question: what's the next step? Where's that so-called work stuff? Where's the next one going? Mm-hmm. And it's going to go down. It won't raise.
yeah.
The bar's not going to raise. It's going to go down further. And that's why countries like, you don't see the Japanese or Chinese guys running around like it's Saturday afternoon at the races.
No.
But we do. What's wrong with us?
Yeah.
No, we got a problem. And I don't know if they're ever going to fix it. We're gliding into a third world mentality,
Yeah.
and we don't even know it.
So you had mentioned your Cadillac.
Yeah.
Okay? Just tell us the story about you purchasing it really quickly. And how old were you?
Well, I was not young, and I didn't buy it. It was a company car. And it was one car I wanted.
Why?
My dad, he always wanted a Cadillac because it meant success for him. He believed in that. And the only time he had a ride in a Cadillac was to the cemetery. And I said, if I ever have a chance to have a real car, I'm going to buy a Cadillac for my dad. But I didn't have to buy it. And that was the reason.
So Provan, thanks again. Okay,
Oh,
I really appreciate
well,
it.
nice to have you come.
Yeah.